as a marketer, you've got branding, your messaging, your content, your campaigns, and they all have to be working together. Well, how do you do that? You need a blueprint. So in this special episode of Revolutionize Your Marketing, I speak with my co-host, Sean Flannery, to Joe Freeman with Digitopia, and he tells us how he helps marketers like you put a campaign together. We have an amazing guest today. We're going to talk about automation, flow, campaigns, and getting focused on your marketing. So I'm excited to introduce Joe Freeman with Digitopia. And I've had the pleasure of working with you, so I know how amazing your team is and what you guys do. But for our audience, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us tell them a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm amazing. And you've covered that.
Yes, you are.
Second, Digitopia is a company. We specifically help B2Bs put in a framework to make their marketing and actually their sales easier. Because we all know that marketing in the B2B world is just hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to get ROI. It's hard to prove worth. When budgets are cut, marketing, especially in B2B world, is usually the first to go. And we help marketers overcome that.
Yeah. No, it's so important as a B2B professional services ourselves. And I've worked on the client side with plenty of companies and who have installed HubSpot as their CRM and their automation tool. It's so complicated and it's really hard, especially when you're sitting in that marketing director role, talking to your CEO, trying to explain what the ROI is on all your budget and your spend. What do you find? What are clients coming to you? What are they most frustrated about?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned HubSpot. And so HubSpot is our bread and butter. We are a Diamond Partner, solutions partner with HubSpot, and we've been working in HubSpot for going on, I think, 12 years now. And when people come to us, they usually are spending quite a bit of money every month on HubSpot, and they describe it to us as, I've got a Ferrari in the garage that I just don't know how to drive. Mm-hmm. And maybe even a better, they say that, they literally say that, maybe a better description is they're a pilot, they know how to fly a plane, but they've maybe gotten a new job and inherited a 747 and they've not been checked off on that plane yet.
Right.
And so we go in and we help them actually get up to speed with how to fly that particular machine. HubSpot is what we work in. The automation tools are amazing. It's a full suite of tools. So you can do your sales, you can do your marketing, and you can do your service. And I'm not here to sell HubSpot at all. Right. But for us, this is how we help overcome all of the frustrations that we started with, which is, how do I prove ROI? How do I create campaigns that actually do something? And how do I mature all of my leads through an actual buyer's journey?
Right.
We use HubSpot.
Yeah. So backing up a little bit, before you even get to HubSpot, like, how do you help a client, build that strategy, whether they're using HubSpot or not? Yeah.
Well, maybe let's back up even further and talk about why you might even need a strategy. Because one of the things that we see all the time, and we don't work with newbies, we don't work with someone who doesn't know marketing or is just getting into marketing for the first time. Mm-hmm. We work with very smart marketers that have tried everything they know to try and it's still not quite working. Now, an individual campaign might be working and you may be getting great ROI or click-through rate on a specific, Google ad you're running. But when you back up and you look at, is this comprehensive program working? The answer is kind of twofold. One, no, it's not. And two, it's not really actually that comprehensive. What most marketers are doing these days is they are throwing spaghetti against the wall. They're seeing what sticks. And then they are getting excited about that until after 10 minutes it doesn't stick anymore and that noodle falls off too.
Yeah. Such a bad, that damn noodle.
That's such a good analogy. There's a real frustration there for owner. Yeah.
Even if it sticks, it falls. And the only way to continue to get it to stick, if that's the approach you're going to take, is to continue to throw noodles at the wall over and over again. That becomes pretty costly.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of waste in that. You're actually not getting a lot of stick from that. So what we do is we have what we call the Digital Utopia Methodology. And this is a set of principles on how to actually approach your marketing, whether you use HubSpot, whether you use Salesforce and cloud or whatever your stack is, it actually doesn't matter. It's the principles you put in place as to how you're going to approach marketing that is going to make a difference. Okay. Right. So in our Digital Utopia methodology, we preach, you have to start with your process. You have to have a process in place. And that, of course, we're talking about marketing, but that goes the same for sales.
Right.
You have to have a process defined. Once your process is defined, and by the way, I can't tell you how many B2Bs that are mature B2Bs that we talk to, that we work with, that have no process.
Oh, wow.
There's a bunch of smart marketers and salespeople involved, and no one's going by any sort of like defined process.
Got it. And is that on the marketing and sales side?
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is, yeah. So start with a process. Once you've got the process, bring that process to life in a platform. Of course, for us, that's HubSpot, where you can actually govern the process and you can report on the process and you can optimize the process as you see what's working and what's not working. And then finally, people. So it's PPP. It's process, platform, and people. Your people, then you need to choose the right people, first of all, but you also need to educate them, empower them, encourage them. And doing your job is a lot easier when you've got a process and then a platform governing it. So that's kind of the cornerstone. And then we have 5 core philosophies. And I'm not going to go through all that because this is not a whole Digital Utopia Methodology lesson. But the point is, there's a very prescribed way that you should approach marketing. And what that has done is that has resulted in a tool that we use called a blueprint.
Okay.
That blueprint was built on those philosophies. And the blueprint basically is a very guided way to do your inbound marketing. It's very templated. And within the template, of course, you're going to customize it for your business and your audience. But it's very much focused around creating a hyper-specific buyer persona that then you create a very hyper-specific offer for. And you create a stack of offers that pushes them up into a better relationship with you.
Right.
And then it also basically tells you how to run your paid advertising and your drip nurturing campaigns around that so that you can actually watch your buyers ascend through that funnel, ascend through that relationship.
Yeah. And I think what we were talking earlier, and this is what I think most marketers, B2B, B2C, it's hard to really get that focus in whether, your campaign, the buyer's journey. How do you help your clients get focused? Like, how do you help them decide who are they going to focus on? What do they focus on? And then what do they let go? Like, that's, for me, I know they got to be holding tight on. I got to do everything. I want to talk to everybody. How do you get them to focus? Yeah,
it's actually really hard. It's pretty easy to get people to buy into the idea of focus. And then once you actually start having to put that into practice, it becomes really hard. And so, I mean, there's a number of ways, and some of the quick ones are, we talk about what is your lowest hanging fruit. So if you're selling several products to several different buyer personas, let's talk first about creating a blueprint for the buyer that is going to realize for you either the quickest revenue or the biggest margin, because that's a domino that can then give sort of some momentum to the other personas, the other products that you're selling. So we always start with one. And we always get people who say well, if we double down, can we do 2 at a time? And we say, you should not. You should start with one and you should perfect it for your business. And then you will learn from that and take it into the next one.
Yep.
Well, aren't we leaving so much on the table by doing that? No, because you're doing it now. You've got salespeople out there doing it. They're doing something. What you're trying to do is now scale and multiply what you've been doing, and what got you here won't get you there. So what you've been doing won't get you more. You now need to focus on a new thing and add that in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the narrative goes, and it's the right way to go.
Okay. Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like, what got you there will not get you further.
What got you here won't get you there. Yeah.
Won't get you there. So, that's such a good point. It's really interesting. So part of the so we face this too, right?
Of course.
Everyone wants to do a video, and then they want to talk about everything in the video, and it's just like such a struggle. And then same with messaging. If we're doing messaging for a homepage or something. Everyone wants to put everything on that page. Yeah. It's just a struggle. So I love that message of you've got to focus.
Yeah. Hyper specificity. It's one of our core philosophies in our methodology. You got to do it.
I love that. Yeah.
And then once you get hyper specific, another thing you got to do is you got to be committed and consistent. So I'm going to go back to the gym analogy if I can for a second.
Yeah.
Because we know everybody wants to be in shape and everybody wants to look good. And some people just want to be healthy, and that's awesome too. I'm just kidding. It's all, you got to do it all. When you do that, you generally start by saying, I'll get a gym membership. And you do. And you either buy it and start powering every day going and then burn yourself out, or you buy it and you don't go at all and then you just pay month to month your $49 subscription and it doesn't do anything for you. Or you've got some people who go and get a trainer. And when they get a trainer, yes, they're spending a little bit more to do that. But what happens with that is the trainer, while they are working with this person, of course, to get them stronger, to get them leaner, to get them whatever it is they're looking to do, what the person doesn't really know is they're also getting them to commit to a habit. The habit of getting to the gym at a certain time, going through the motions over and over 3 days a week, whatever it is. And it's that commitment to that and that consistency that actually is what gives results. It almost doesn't matter what you're doing. So now tying it back to marketing, it almost doesn't really matter what the email campaign is. It doesn't really matter what channel you're going, whether it's LinkedIn or Google. I mean, they all matter. They do matter. I'm not trying to downplay that, but really it almost doesn't matter in the sense that if you don't consistently do one of them or multiple of them in a consistent manner, you're not going to learn from it.
Right.
You're not going to be able to optimize it. And there is going to be this time where you are basically, it's a lost leader. You are throwing dollars kind of out the window to learn what works. And eventually you'll be able to recoup that, but it does take a long time.
Yeah. I like to call that investing.
It's investing.
Yeah. So consistency is key in investing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And so talking about that too, that consistency, like what do you see on average with B2B companies? Like what do they have? Like is the timeline they need to invest in? And what are some of the milestones that they should be looking at?
Yeah, it's a great question because what we see all the time is somebody coming and saying, well, let's do a program and then we're going to commit and we're going to be consistent. And then 2 months later, they come and say, hey, the board's asking for ROI. We're investing X amount of dollars, not only in an agency and a program, but also ad spend. I mean, that adds up big, right? When are we going to see ROI? So what we try to help our marketer friends and some of our sales friends do it and some of our RevOps friends, right? Everybody's in this mix in this conversation.
Yep.
What we try to help them do is say, these are the milestones that actually are big wins. So again, back to the gym. A milestone for the gym is not waking up next month and being Arnold Schwarzenegger. A milestone is, first of all, the commitment and consistency, getting to the gym, breaking your old habits, making a new one that says, I go to the gym 3 times a week.
Yep.
And the next milestone is, oh goodness, I have lost some weight. The next milestone is my blood pressure is down. The next milestone is I'm seeing a little definition. The next milestone is I'm building muscle. And maybe there's ones in between, but if you're not telling that story to your board, to your CEO, to your boss, of course, all they're going to anchor on is where's the money.
Yeah.
But the investment you're making it pays dividends over time, and you need to be able to tell that story. So when we use the blueprint has baked in milestones. We now have a solid, hyper-specific offer to get people in the database. Okay? Fast forward a month or two. We now have a very good nurturing queue to make sure that once they're in the database, they don't just get in there and go cold and dead. We now have a very specific program to target and retarget them with paid advertising to the next offer we make, which might be a video. Actually, probably should be a video, right?
Yep.
That
Yes.
middle of the funnel sort of like consideration stage of the buyer's journey, you need good, rich content to really tell not about your product, not talk about like the features and the bells and the whistles, but to talk about the transformation that somebody engaging with your product or service will actually experience. Okay, that's a milestone. You've now got a nice offer. You've got some nice deep dive content for them to engage with. You've got a what we call a foot in the door, which is really just a consult or a demo. It's akin to a contact form, but it's not a contact form because it's a very well-crafted sales copy-driven landing page that is telling them what transformation they will experience once they actually talk to you. Right. So these are all milestones, and that takes 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get together. And now you got 6 months before you've got a full program done. At 6 months, you get people in the database. What is your sales cycle? I mean, with B2Bs, we know it's probably no less than 3 months, and a lot of them are 3, 6, 12, even 18-month sales cycle. So when we talk about when do you see ROI, it's after you've built it, gotten people in there, optimized it, and had the sales conversation, and it's matured 18 months later. It's a ways out.
Yeah.
It could be 12 to 18 months out.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's reasonable as marketers. We get that.
Right.
Board members might not, but
They don't get it.
Well, those reasonable expectations, though, have to be communicated.
Yes.
Right? So you stick to that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we as marketers, it's incumbent upon us to actually help tell the story and not just expect that they're going to understand, because marketing is complicated. Marketing is hard. There's a reason there's marketers, and we'll see with AI, but there's a reason that there are marketers, and there's not just CEOs pushing a marketing button.
Right.
Because it's hard. You need someone who knows what's happening, and therefore you also need to explain to the CEO, who would love to push a button and create money on the other side of that, why it takes time, but what the wins are along the way.
Yeah. No, and I love that with your blueprint. It makes so much more sense. And if I'm a marketer, I'm a director, VP, I can go, here's the blueprint. We know what our milestones are going to be. We may not know the exact numbers yet. That's why we've got to run it and commit to that 18-month window. But yeah, that's great. I agree with you. I think a lot of departments, marketers, they're just running without a real process or a plan. And so getting to work with somebody like you has got to be really helpful. Maybe just really quickly, tell us a quick story of a client that you've worked with lately and some of the results you're getting for them.
Okay. Let me think. Let me think specifically of something that would be interesting and fun. Again, we work with B2B, so they're not the sexiest of products, the sexiest of services, but they run a lot of dollars through.
Yeah.
Right? And that's really cool. Recent example. I think, let me actually tell you a recent example of the win.
Okay.
That is on the way to ROI, because I think this is where we're seeing a lot of excitement from our marketer friends.
Okay.
So I can't say names, but we recently got in bed with a client that has been doing a really good job of marketing, in the sense that they're doing a lot of things and they're spending a lot of money, and they are getting some traction, but they're getting traction to the point of across the board, like 2% conversion, which maybe for across the board click rates, maybe you could make an argument that 2% is good. But when you talk about 2% conversion in terms of an actual sales across everything, it's kind of low. You can do better than that. And so the problem was they have a lot of smart people on their team, but everybody's a little bit working in a silo. You've got your paid people running paid campaigns, and they're running those they're running those paid campaigns to a homepage. Or to a contact page.
Yep.
And we just know that doesn't really work. It will work eventually, because it's creating more sessions and more brand awareness and what have you. But in terms of hand-holding somebody through a journey to purchase, that just doesn't work. And so, yes, we went in and we built a blueprint for them. And yes, it's delivering. But I would say that's not even the win. The win is that their scattered team now has a cohesive mission, and they have a cohesive plan. And when they run their paid ads, they know exactly which level of the blueprint they're running those ads to. And they can trust that everyone's on the same page, so that when they run those ads, it's getting picked up by a landing page that has the same messaging that the ad does. And they can bet that once they convert on that landing page, that it has the same messaging and a nurturing topic to follow. They're not going into some general newsletter.
Right.
They're not going into some general, here's how great our company is. They're going into a guided learning path that is directly related to the landing page and the offer, that is directly related to the ads. The team won because they are now all on the same page, which of course, if you extrapolate that out, results in lower cost, because they're not burning money on initiatives that are not aligned.
I love that. And it's amazing to me how many people do paid and just send them to a homepage and just don't tailor that message, don't tailor the journey. So that's really great.
Yeah.
If you can do that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And like I said, the blueprint does that. It will guide you to not send to a homepage, but instead send to a very pain point driven landing page that takes them on a journey. It doesn't dump them in the database and say, thanks for coming.
Yep.
It takes them on a journey. And whether that journey ends in a sale with you, which in some cases it will, or it doesn't, you've actually also brought a ton of value to that person, which now boosts the brand awareness. And whether or not they buy from you, you better believe they're talking about you.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's also the internal team now working together. That's probably the biggest part of the win, from what I see.
Oh, that's a huge culture shift. Like, I don't know how exactly you would measure that, but that's an amazing value add that you guys provide.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast. Because then you talk about really utilizing HubSpot to bring this to life. So we're talking right now philosophically and about a framework that you could literally use in any technology. But once you get a technology in place, and again, I'm going to use HubSpot as the example, you can measure that. And when we talk about our philosophy of process and then platform and then people, that people component is not only the alignment, but the measuring of what that alignment results in and the optimization of it. Because once you're aligned, you will find out for sure that like, we thought that was a good idea. We thought working together that way or that campaign or whatever was a good idea, but it's not. And so we're going to shift, but we're not going to start completely over. We're going to shift. We're just going to make a little tweak and it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And you're going to be journeying together with your team.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, speaking of the next podcast, we'll have you on again so we can finish the story. But we've got a few minutes left. Okay. We'd love to, what can you leave our audience with? What is like one thing that every marketer should be doing? Like do it tomorrow, like, or, you know, what should we be thinking about as marketers in the B2B space?
Well, as you could probably guess, I care to get every single marketer in the world using some sort of framework. Ours works great. You should try it. But if you don't use ours, use something. Yeah. And again, back to the gym. If you go to the gym and you wander around and just pick whatever machine is open, you'll get some kind of results, but not great results. It's when you commit to a program, and whether that's a CrossFit or whether that's a Orange Theory or slot in the latest trendy one. That's where people actually start to see results because they're committed, they're consistent, following back to that. So I would say use a framework. And if you would love to check out ours, you can get started on your own. You don't need us as an agency to come in and put this in place for you. We actually have the whole thing documented. We have it all described and in a downloadable. It's like 14 pages or something. And you can literally go through and draw out everything I just talked about using this tool. So you can go download it for free. Great. And you can do it on your own. And we do have companies that do it on their own. And sometimes they call us and we help them. And sometimes we call us and we actually work with them, but they are doing it on their own.
Got it. No, I love that. So we'll definitely put that in the show notes, the link to download that blueprint, which will be really helpful. And I agree, having a framework makes such a huge difference. I'm a Story Brand Guide, and we have a 7-part messaging framework that we use with our clients. Yeah. And I know with Max Lux, you guys have a framework and a process that you follow for filming. I mean, even today you experienced it. You get the pat down. You want to look good, So
it sounds like we got to take all of our frameworks and make a Megatron, transformer
framework.
Do
it.
That would be incredible.
Yeah. I almost forgot. You had a little announcement too, didn't you? Today?
It is little and it's big. Can it be little and big at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, so we've been journeying for a very long time with Digitopia in terms of other brand names. So I was part of a company called Elevator Agency that merged into Digitopia. Digitopia has been in existence for 5 years. And recently I just took over as CEO of Digitopia.
So, congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
So that's really exciting for me.
It's a big deal. And Digitopia is a great agency. You guys are the only HubSpot Premier member that I will recommend. So
you heard that.
We love working with you guys. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll put all the contact information, everything you need to know to get a hold of us. But don't